Hello everyone, this week we're going to be going through what I take in my setting box every week when I'm on setting jobs. Hopefully this will help some of you that are out there kind of getting your kit together for maybe your first jobs. Also, I'm sure there'll be a few unusual things in there that might help some people who are a bit more experienced as well. So let's get to it. First things first, setting belt. These are super important if you want to improve your efficiency in setting mainly. I like one like this that's got two separate sides to it. I keep pinning screws in here. I keep long screws in here, 80mm screws. I keep bolts in here, and I keep normal 50mm screws in here. I've also got a pouch at the front where I keep like bits, washers, any other little things that I might need with me. It also means that if you're climbing up and down a ladder, you can keep holds in your pouch like this, which is super useful. So especially if you're setting easier boulders and you're going quite fast, I can take kind of 4 jugs in here preloaded with bolts and set half a boulder in 30 seconds. So absolutely essential piece of kit. Get yourself one, make sure you're comfortable with it, make sure it's got enough pockets. Next up, impact driver, or in this case, impact drivers. So I often bring 2 with me. Partly as a backup if one breaks, which every now and again they do, then it means you've got a backup driver, which is always good. But also I've got 2 different types here. So this one with the clear front, it's looking a bit kind of worse for wear now, this thing, but this is an oil pulse driver. This is from Makita. This one, Milwaukee also make one. These are basically quieter, less vibration, than a standard impact driver. So if you're using one a lot, definitely worth investing in one of these here. One of the issues with this is that they're really expensive. This body alone, no batteries, is about £300. So a lot of people start with one of these. This is an impact driver. The body of this is about £120. Obviously you need batteries and things as well. They work in exactly the same way. This is way more powerful, too powerful actually, for kind of what we need it for as route setters. The torque rating on this is like way above the recommended torque for attaching holds, so you do have to be careful with one of these. They're also really loud and they vibrate a lot, so if you're using one a lot you can get, like I used to get ringing ears. You should be wearing ear protection with one of these, whereas with the oil pulse you don't have to. But I keep one of these as a backup with me, and it's also really good for stripping. That's going to prolong the life of your nice one if you like strip with one of those. Okay, impact drivers. Next up, batteries. I always keep a couple of batteries with me. I really like these. These are the 2 amp hour, super thin, really lightweight. There's also these, which are kind of the more standard size. These are 3 amp hour. They go all the way up to 5 amp hour, but I find that 2 of these, as long as you got one on charger all the time. These are getting a bit old now, so I might need to change them once or twice through the day. If you've got some brand new batteries, sometimes you can get through a whole day on one battery. But as long as you've got 2 and you keep one on charge at all times, then it's an easy life. I would recommend the smaller ones. It makes the whole system that you're using a lot lighter. This is a lot heavier than this, so the smaller ones are really good for that. It's going to be a lot less effort to be carrying using your drill all day. Charger. Obviously you need something to charge your batteries with. A lot of walls in the UK at least use Makita, so quite often they'll have a charger there. If you don't know that they've got chargers, always take your own. Okay, absolute essential this one, a good T-bar. So this is actually not the best T-bar because it's got this rounded end, which is annoying. I didn't realise that when I bought it, but nice long lever. These are essential. If you're getting holds which feel like they're getting stuck, back off with the power tools as early as possible and go with the hand tools, go with the T-bar. You get a lot more feel out of it and you're much more likely to kind of save it, get the bolt out without having to resort to cutting. So absolute essential. Keep that one with you. I then have a collection of bits. So I've been trying to keep them a bit more separated. I've got 8mm bits in here, 6mm bits. They're both hex bits for bolts in here. Different walls in the UK use different bits. And then I've got an assortment here of random bits. So these are ones that I've kind of collected over the years from different places, just buying different ones as you go. And I had a few like assorted kits which have got mixed up and ended up just in here. But this will cover pretty much everything I need. Most of the time you're using like standard either Torx or KTX bits, so it's always good to have a big supply of them as well. Actually here I've got, this is where I keep all my KTX bits in this little pouch. Make sure you've got a really good supply of them at all times, but it's always good to have a random selection of other things you might come across. On top of that, I also have one of these. This is like a little like mix box. You can see that some of them have actually ended up in my random selection box. So this is just a mix of different bits. They just go as long as you've got an extender in with you as well. Stick one of these in the end and you're kind of sorted for any situation. Pretty rare that you come across stuff like this, but when you do, it's always good to make sure you've got what you need. Okay, PPE. Something that historically route setters have been terrible at wearing, especially in the UK, I think. So I'm trying wherever I can to make sure that I'm using glasses at all times. Some people like to use gloves as well. For me, I get really sweaty in gloves and my skin goes bad, so I'll put them on if I'm doing heavy lifting or any washing, anything like that. And definitely if you're doing any grinding, any like hot work stuff, you need a good pair of gloves. But trying to keep at all times a pair of safety protection glasses. Next up is tape. Duct tape is a life essential, not just a route setting essential. Black tape, the reason I got black tape in here is that for a comp environment we use this for blocking off features. So say there's two problems either side of a ret and you don't want either of them to use the ret, you'd put a big black tape line all the way down it like that. So black tape. If I'm also going to a comp, I'll take a big selection of different coloured gaffer tape for marking the starts, zones and finishes of them. Talked about grinding a little bit earlier. I have some spare cutting discs. I don't bring a grinder with me usually to jobs. They tend to have one at each site, but I do have a couple of spare discs just in case. It'd probably also be wise to bring these are cutting discs, to bring a grinding disc for sorting out like broken screws. Often you kind of grind them off flat. I don't have one of them with me, so I'm going to add that to my list of things to top up. Another comp essential, staple gun. These are super useful when it comes to competitions because often you're putting up loads of signage. They're also really good for stopping tape that falls off, so often you'll tape a load of boulders the night before an event, come back, and if the temperatures change, the tape will start to peel off. So with one of these, you can just bang a staple in the end of the tape or on any signage that's up way quicker than having to like tape anything. So good to have. Also need some refills that go with it. Another thing that's easy to forget is pencils, pens, Sharpies. I actually usually have a few biros in there as well, but they've kind of gone walkabouts. Another essential, this is something that most walls have now. You can see I've got like a massive stash of them up there on the shelf, but these are little washers. So you can see here, these are super useful for protecting the edges of macro volumes, also for kind of putting an extra point of attachment. Where there's a bolt hole, you can put one of these with a screw through it, and that can be like an extra backup point of attachment if there's anything that you're a little unsure about whether you can screw it on. These things, alright, I don't even know what these are. They're some type of washer, quite a big flat washer. These are the perfect tool for getting out those little caps out of holes. So a lot of holes now will have a plug over the bolt hole that's made of plastic, and you need something to like unscrew it with. So these, if you ever find some of these, put them in your box. They're super useful. One that maybe not too many people have with them that I always keep with me now, WD-40. So I always keep some of this with me because with stuck holes now, lots of people have different ways of doing this, but if I can access the back of the wall and I've got some of this with me, I'll go into the back of the wall, screw the T-nut back in where it's popped out, put a load of the lubricant, the WD-40 on the back, and have someone in the front with a T-bar trying to ease it out. I find that it works 90% of the time, and it means that we do way less angle grinding now than I did before. It's like, it's been a year since I've done any angle grinding, whereas every time a hole got stuck before, you had to do some sort of grinding. So it's probably the most dangerous part of route setting, the angle grinding, so any way that you can avoid it is really good. So keep some of this with you, screw the T-nut into the back of the wall, apply generous lubrication, and then try and get it out from the front with a T-bar. It's pretty hard work, requires a lot of elbow grease from whoever's in front, but it's worth it because it means you don't have to get the grinder out. Another absolute essential and something that's been a bit of a lifesaver for me recently is a skin maintenance kit. This one's from Black Diamond, but it's like I've altered it a little bit. In here we've got a foam block with some sandpaper. We've got a good pair of clippers, nail clippers. And I've also got a pack of razor blades. Okay, so this is a tip that I got from, I think it was Magos, that swears by the razor blades, but it's a really good shout. So if you ever get thick skin that's kind of peeling away, sanding does kind of work, but real careful work with a razor blade to take off the sharp edges is really useful. So skin management is a huge part of route setting, especially in a competition scenario. If you're doing 4 or 5 days of testing hard boulders every day, keeping on top of your skin is like absolutely vital. One last thing that I don't have with me, which is an absolute essential, is a good pair of mole grips. I've just left mine at the wall from last week somehow, but a good pair of mole grips are total essential, especially for broken screws. So if you do break a screw, which does happen sometimes, a good pair of mole grips will clasp on and you'll either be able to twist it out or snap it off, kind of going backwards and forwards. That's everything that I take with me on a day's route setting. As you can see, it's like a fair amount of stuff, but actually all of this stuff I kind of use on a pretty regular basis, and it's really, really worthwhile making sure you've got everything you need. There's nothing more annoying when you're halfway through a day's route setting and you're trying to do a simple task and you realise you haven't got the right bit for the screw you need, or you haven't got your mole grips with you. So staying on top of this stuff and making sure that you've got good systems that you're comfortable with and you know really well are going to really help improve your efficiency, and you're just going to have a better time route setting. If you do want to know more about route setting, then make sure to head on over to our website, subscribe and follow along for the online course. So our online course is going to be out by the end of the year, and we're going to be covering all the fundamental stuff of route setting. So whether you're new to route setting or whether you want like a qualification to prove that you know your like fundamental standard basic level stuff, then that'll be really good for you. And if you go on over to the website now and subscribe, you'll get exclusive discounts and you'll be notified when the course is out. Alright, see you soon. I need a good YouTube intro. Hello YouTube. What can I do? What's up YouTube? I'll stay with hello.